how you look, it's how you feel. From subtle, natural aesthetics to personalized wellness care, everything we do is intentional. This is beauty with purpose. At Vibe Men's Health, we take that same approach. We focus on what matters most: strength, energy, and performance. Built on real data, real medicine, and real results, we're here to help you look better, feel stronger, and live fully. Come vibe with us today.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather at 9.
Well, good evening. At 9 p.m., you're watching Mississippi Live. We're going to have all of your Game of the Week highlights, including one that went to extra innings earlier on. Our Ethan Foster will have those coming up at 10 p.m. But at 9, reviewing a week that was active. Hopefully things will be a lot calmer this weekend. But outside in Greenville this evening, we show up with a 57 that temperature. Look toward the horizon with a few showers, but not much showing up on the Mama Justice radar at this point here. Obviously, it was a lot different earlier this week. Damage survey done by the National Weather Service in Jackson within the last 24 hours, rating a tornado that moved through there on some strong winds earlier this week, EF0, one of a couple of tornadoes that touched down on April 28th at about 10:08 p.m., so about an hour after this point in time. Not a long-lived one. The damage really only to a few trees, but that survey coming in earlier today. And yeah, 85-mile-per-hour winds, that's enough to cause some issues there, but thankfully not stronger. Of course, when we were tracking that in, it looked like it was producing 80-plus-mile-per-hour winds, and they're producing at least a brief tornado, unfortunately. But luckily, that's about as strong as anything was around the state. Rain ending overnight, and it will not be severe. So big headline there into the weekend. But a few sprinkles remain possible for tomorrow. We're tracking again here in a couple minutes where those are most likely. And storms are back next week as we look extended with Storm Finder and our Futurecast to get an idea on how things could potentially time out with that. Tonight, though, the showers, 40 to 50% coverage, probably overdoing it a little bit. It's kind of on the north side on where the sprinkles are. You can see on our first 12 here at 10 p.m. at 58 the temperature, 53 by 1 a.m., 51 as look toward 4 o'clock, and probably in the upper 40s to begin early Saturday morning. So a little chilly, a little cool. It'll be cooler by early Sunday morning. We'll probably have some low 40s out there for the start of that day. So the weekend, we've shoved the moisture out of here. May have been a good example still of where we still have some little bits of humidity, but north winds are really going to kick up behind the system, and that'll guide that right on out of here. Again, mostly cloudy skies there, as is the case most spots. 57 the temperature in Maben at this hour, coming in Crenshaw about 59. No real raindrops on the screen there up in northwest Mississippi, where obviously things were a lot more active earlier on this week. And in Starkville, you can see kind of the glow of the clouds there, 57 there as well. That humidity at 100%. So if we had enough thick moisture up here, we would get it down to the ground. We just really haven't seen much of that. Mama Justice Doppler radar looking really here at what's primarily the upper scans. We kind of cut this down from the live sweeps there to kind of the more aggregate. And you can see just how unimpressive some of the northward movement has been on some of these showers. With the showers down here south of Sugarlock and DeKalb, back toward Philadelphia, and locations south of that where they have been most significant today. Carthage and Philadelphia, some spots where this hour there's at least some out there. We're going a little wider here, again showing that moderate rainfall back there closer to Monroe, Louisiana, and Jackson, but just has not really moved that far north. Not that anybody's really complaining about that. We've seen plenty of rainfall this week. Still have that flood warning ongoing, as you've probably seen at the bottom of your screen there for parts of Lowndes County until Sunday evening, as we just watched some of those rivers still putting that moisture down. So as we've talked about all evening long and all throughout the day, even yesterday as well, when Futurecast shows this light green here, that's maybe sprinkles. Most of us probably don't even have quite that much there kind of fallen out of this, as we should be, again, mostly dry. Those north winds continue to kind of push that drier air in. As they do, we watch that moisture slide right on out of here. And as we look through your day on your Saturday, we're going to start off with mostly cloudy and dry conditions, but north winds will continue through the day. We should probably clear a lot of that out other than some high clouds by maybe mid-morning there. But a few sprinkles up to the north as a cold core low sits up here. Essentially, if you look aloft, there's some colder temperatures up here. So you'll notice that this has still that same kind of spin you certainly expect with a low pressure center up to the north And so as this drops into our area, that is going to guide in perhaps some isolated showers for tomorrow. I say that way, it's actually probably going a little bit more east. Either way, we're not expecting it to add up to more than a couple of rogue sprinkles. That's why I leave the percentages less than 10%. We don't expect we're going to see much, but maybe a few little bits out there for your afternoon time period on Saturday. 67 that temperature for a high, maybe some low 70s out there. I'm going to show you the optimistic number on that coming up here in a couple of moments. Also coming up after the break, we're looking at Storm Finder to get an idea on the extended and, of course, some of the rain chances that go into the first part of next week. As we expect the storms to become much more likely by midweek, we're timing out those with kind of a look ahead as Mississippi Live Weather continues here from the Room to Room Weather Center right after this.
When something this big comes crashing into your life, it's not just metal that takes the hit. It's your time, your health, your future. And the companies behind it, they're already protecting themselves. You need someone who knows how to stand up to them. I'm Casey Lott. If you've been injured in a truck accident, call me today.
Every legend starts somewhere.
Not with perfection, but with the decision.
The decision to show up, work harder, and believe this place can change everything.
At Northeast, you're more than just a number.
We're built on opportunity, and our students are willing to rise to the occasion.
Here, success isn't handed to you. It's earned.
You don't just leave with a degree, you leave as a legend.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's Mississippi's Chief Meteorologist, Matt Lovhawn.
Welcome back to Mississippi Live Weather at 9. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lopon, and thank you so much again for tuning in and trusting us here. Mama Justice Doppler only really detecting bugs. You know, the dry air has won. We talked about kind of the differences in our projection on how much heavier our strike model was. Certainly that has not come to fruition. That's why we kind of talked about and showed both of those last night at 9 and 10 o'clock. And so you'll notice here, most of this remains fairly light out there. We don't expect that to really probably add up to a lot in many of the rain gauges. So let's look ahead at the next few days. As we can get you wrapping into your work week, we're going to start with Storm Finder before we hit that 7-day forecast and move on. So Storm Finder, again, a Mississippi Live exclusive, showing you where rumbles are possible, and certainly south of us is where they are the most likely over the next couple of days. As you'll see here on Storm Finder, we'll go into this upcoming weekend. Nothing for Saturday, nothing for Sunday. So for your weekend plans, beautiful. Looking toward Monday of next week, not much. By Tuesday, maybe some chances there. You'll notice certainly back here out on the plains, much more likely to see some of those. We're starting to get also into the purples around here. So our first chance comes on Tuesday, and it's still mainly back to the north and west. But I think the boundary that causes that, and you kind of see it even on the wider shot here, that frontal boundary, it's going to take another burst of upper level energy. As that arrives, I think by Wednesday, our chances become a lot greater. We'll dig more into that a couple different ways here in a few moments. But I want to show you a 7-day forecast here as we kind of build through what we're going to talk about tomorrow. Obviously, some rain chances early in the day, probably pre-dawn, the main chance, a couple sprinkles late. That cold core system we talked about, we'll track those here in a minute. We're drier for Sunday. And look at that, 44 for that low temperature. That's a little chilly to begin the day. Some spots down maybe or closer to the 40-degree point, so frost isn't impossible. We're warmer by Monday. And then those first rain chances we mentioned. Tuesday, some of those, much more likely Wednesday. You can even talk about a low temperature that we're bringing in more fuel for thunderstorms and maybe some strong to severe thunderstorms by Thursday. By Friday, though, we're drier. So it's really kind of one main chance there Wednesday that we're going to be looking into. This evening, though, we've had some sprinkles as we showed you on Mama Justice Doppler, but down in Columbus, all those roads are dry, 57 degrees. Good evening to y'all in the friendly city, and appreciate the Mississippi Department of Transportation, our partners on these cameras down there. Our camera network, though, mainly is with the North Mississippi Storm Chasers and Pontotoc, looking good this evening with a little glow. And those mainly high clouds at dew point at 48. That's some dry air out there. And we're expecting it to be dry for the Coke 10K tomorrow morning. 50 that temperature at 8 a.m., 54 by 9, and 57 as we look toward 10. So kind of perfect running weather to start off your Saturday. A lot of folks are going to complain about that. Again, a little cool in the morning, so a jacket, at least from time to time, probably necessary there. But this is mainly just a rogue sprinkle. A lot of this green is not making it to the ground overnight. Heaviest showers, Louisville, Macon, Aliceville, southward toward the coast, where there's even a few thunderstorms, even some severe thunderstorms possible around the coast overnight and early tomorrow, but not up here. We don't have the fuel for that, and that's one of the things that'll be limiting factor even into the first part of next week on some of the rain chances. So starting off your Saturday, A-OK with temperatures around 50 in Cleveland, 49 degrees we show in Greenwood and Grenada and Water Valley and Oxford. Pretty common number out there for lows tomorrow morning. Typically should be 57, so everybody running just a little bit below that. That's the function partially of that dry air. And north winds will continue to bring that in and continue to make it a little breezy. I think by probably 10 to 11 o'clock, we could have some wind gusts, 15 miles per hour or so, but by 1 to 2 o'clock in the afternoon, those pick up a little bit more, maybe 20, 25 mile per hour wind gusts. So it'll be a fairly windy day, all things considered, on these fairly gusty northerly winds coming into and through our region. Here are the couple of sprinkles, not expecting much, but a few light showers possible out there. Now, you know I like to do this at 9 o'clock when I'm filling in for Gabe. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a slightly different version of the exact same projection there. We're going to take our HRRR model here, and we're going to change the time on it just a little bit, give you kind of a secondary perspective on how this could time out on rain for tomorrow. Listen, I don't think you're going to see anything dramatically different, but this is a new model run hot off the press, so let's take a look at this. So this model comes in pretty much during this broadcast, so that's why sometimes cloud cover doesn't always show up on it. But as you can see, dry initially, no big shock there. Clouds will increase a bit as we head in the afternoon, but I'm not going to show clouds on here at this one because the cloud cover isn't all the way in on this model. But you'll notice here, 3, 4 o'clock, where we had some showers out there, we still show a couple up closer to Bolivar, Tennessee, up toward Jackson, Tennessee, and into the late afternoon as those kind of shift down. A few more depicted on here than what we showed at 5 and 6 o'clock or in that projection a second ago. So takeaway being, I probably could add in a 10% on that hour-by-hour forecast for tomorrow afternoon. But most of us, as you can see, are going to be dry. No storms out there, but again, that's one thing that sometimes can affect the temperature. If you get a few of those showers, it can kick that temperature down an extra degree or so. I'm going optimistically lower 70s, but I think a lot of us are probably going to be upper 60s for highs for tomorrow afternoon, and that puts us almost 10 degrees below what we typically would expect for this time of the year. By tomorrow evening and tomorrow night, all those showers are out of here, winds calm down, skies clear out, high pressure is the story. You can see that building in from the north. This big H here has sinking air and all the stuff with it that makes sure that early Sunday morning will be fairly cool. It's right over top of us, and that's a perfect recipe for chilly temperatures. As we look at low temperature for Sunday morning, here's what you need to know. Sometimes models are a little warm in this scenario. We get right into it, that high pressure's overhead, the air is just a little bit drier, and we force that temperature down an extra degree or so. It's important in this case because when we show 41 for that low in Corinth, or 42 in Red Bay, 41 in Hamilton, Alabama, it wouldn't at all be possible to shove that down maybe an upper 30 in the county, far enough out there. And that could lead to maybe just a little bit of frost. That's not an everybody thing, just not an impossibility to run into a little bit of that. So keep that in mind for the gardeners. Mrs. Lawpon, who's not here, I got to remember to tell her when she gets home from work tonight. But again, fairly calm conditions for Sunday morning. And I think, again, with mostly clear skies on Sunday, we're going to start boosting those temperatures. Look at that wind direction back from the west and southwest. That's going to start warming us up a bit. So by Sunday afternoon, highs are probably pushing into the middle 70s at coolest, maybe even a couple upper 70s out there by Sunday afternoon. So we show 76 degrees in Cleveland and Clarksdale and Tunica for highs on Sunday. South Haven 74, as well as Senatobia. 72 degrees back in Amory, 73 in Tupelo, Houston, and 74 degrees in Bruce. We're close to the 80-degree point by Monday. That'd be pretty close to what we typically expect for this time of year, and obviously well below our record, with most of us at least within a couple degrees of that. Okay, let's dig deeper in here, and we're going to look at Futurecast. There's a couple of different versions of Futurecast we can look at here. We don't have our high-resolution models to get past really Monday at this point, so we're going to have to look at some of the lower resolution stuff as we plan out what we're going to expect for next week. And as we showed you there a minute ago on our storm finder, most of the storms probably going to be close to us. I think this might be a little bit off in its positioning. We could have a few more storms, this indicates, on Tuesday, but watch how things kind of develop as we head toward Tuesday night and into Wednesday. Early Wednesday morning, this next storm system, as you can see, a fairly potent one, as it'll bring some rain chances, obviously, for us. But look at this, snowfall, potentially, for the higher elevations and lower elevations out there into Kansas. So May, at least that's not here. We're still cool this weekend, but we're not dealing with that. But this storm system is going to wrap back around a fairly strong front. I think we have a fairly decent upper level pattern that will come into place. And while this does not look particularly impressive now, models at this time range typically don't. This does time out with the right type of day and the right fuel and everything, where this could potentially be some strong to severe thunderstorms on Wednesday. Notice the positioning, again, in the delta, that will shift over top of us as we go throughout Wednesday night and early Thursday morning. So it remains possible we could be dealing with a nocturnal event, an overnight event, as far as some stronger thunderstorms are concerned. So the timing is still flexible on this upcoming chance next week. This shows some lingering rain chances into Thursday. I don't have those on the 7-day forecast yet. I have this probably clearing out a little quicker than what our Futurecast here on our strike model has. And then after that, we dry things out looking toward next weekend with more active weather, mainly to the north of us. Now, we're going to look at a different version here. This is like the fast forward version of our European model there. So you saw it in fast forward. Let's take it in slow motion for you. And as we show that, looking here again from Friday night, this is tonight, all that activity mainly south of us, looking into Saturday, looking into Sunday, nothing out there, looking into Monday, nothing out there. And then things start to get a little more interesting late Monday, back out on the plains. Again, that's where the first kind of rounds of this storm system and any storm chances could end up being, back up to the north and west of us. As we go toward Tuesday, you can see here, this latest version of Futurecast, I'm going to rewind it here for a moment, has a couple of sprinkles here. There were definitely more depicted when we looked at this at 5 and 6 o'clock. So a few sprinkles down here in North Mississippi, but the majority of the activity back out there into Arkansas and Missouri by Tuesday late in the day. So first takeaway on the difference here on the latest version of both of our projections, they do somewhat agree on timing. And so the more they start agreeing, the more that kind of solidifies our thought process. Let's see how things progress looking into your Wednesday. Looking early pre-dawn Wednesday, those residual thunderstorms kind of pressing in from the north and west. And then that threat shifting over top of us by perhaps as early as midday Wednesday. That is obviously earlier than what we were looking at a moment ago when we were looking at the strike model. Now, the European here does have some coming heavier. What I'm depicting on this is actually rainfall rate. It looks at how heavy the rain is falling. And so that's important because the rainfall rate, obviously the heavier it's falling, the stronger the storms. And so the rainfall rate's getting a little heavy over top of us. A greater likelihood that means thunderstorms and maybe some that are strong to severe. This particular projection has things largely clearing us 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. I still think evening and overnight are on the table, but this could still be some afternoon chances there as well as this kind of comes through. And this largely clears us as we head into Thursday and then beyond. So takeaway on those two things is I still think it's reasonable that we could have some strong to severe thunderstorms the middle part of next week. Timing, when Tuesday there, I'm probably for 10 o'clock going to drop. I'm going to give it till tomorrow. I was tempted to drop this down to 20%, assuming everything stays to the north and west. We'll give it to tomorrow. Caleb will allow to make that change there if we need to drop that back down. But Wednesday, that's when we're going to have more rain and storms. The timing exactly on Wednesday, and afternoon timing would obviously probably hinge more towards strong to severe thunderstorms. I think overnight, I think in either case, we could have strong severe thunderstorms. The tornado threat probably peaking in the afternoon, but we're going to have to see on this if the upper level winds all kind of stay aligned for the worst of that. And then beyond that, as you can see, we clear in the latter part of next week. Appreciate all of you guys for sticking with us here, coming up with us this evening, and appreciate everybody from Water Valley and for tuning in all across the area. Still have not heard from Gabe Maynor. Let me double check here. Nope, that means we probably don't have a younger Maynor yet, but hopefully we'll be getting that later on, of course. Excited for he and his wife as their family grows and And just thankful for you guys coming along with us on that journey. I know that they appreciate your thoughts and your prayers tonight. Certainly we are praying for a swift and healthy delivery of a beautiful baby boy coming. So our next live broadcast is going to be coming up tonight at 10 p.m. And of course at 10 on Fridays, what do? We do Game of the Week, and we are excited to hear and see the highlights there coming in from Hatley and Eupora. You're going to want to see those because this one took extra innings and pretty good finish there. So we're going to see that from our Ethan Foster as well as our MVNP and fan sections of the week. You'll see who won those. I think MVNP is a kind of a special one tonight. You'll want to tune in and catch us for Mississippi Live at 10. We hope to see you then, and thank you so much for supporting us here. Make sure to download our apps for iOS, Android devices, as well as all of the different smart TV platforms. Just search for Mississippi Live, and we'll see you at 10.
Growing up, Gabe was naturally curious. When he began to discover weather, Gabe just didn't want to know what was happening, but he wanted to know why it was happening. Gabe became fascinated with tornadoes, and it impacted his life. He wanted to pursue a career in meteorology. Even though Gabe grew up in Alabama, Mississippi has now become his home and his family. And one thing about Gabe is he keeps his family safe.